what I have in my hands here right now is just the riser section of my bamboo back and belly Duoflex experimental bow that broke on the tillering tree during filming. If you want to see that again, I'll link that video in the, or link it up here in a card, whichever direction it goes in here. And fast forward to the end and you can see this guy give up the ghost. But the reason that it did, at least from what I can tell, is because I was using interior cuts of bamboo. They're a little too thin to get a viable bow with those pieces, and so I am going to now take us through the build with good pieces of bamboo and see what we get as far as an outcome. So I'm really excited about this build. Hang with me, guys. We're going to get started right now. Here will be the components for this build. I have the previous riser from our failed Duoflex bow, and I'm going to retool it to some degree to be a little more of a gentle transition, right in here, so that I can get kind of the same ideas I got with that hybrid recurve bow that we just built. I really like that grip, so I'm going to try and emulate it to some degree. I know I've got a lot of a bulge on the front side here, but I'm going to try and get a little bit of that bulb on the back side so that I can use a singular piece of bamboo on the belly side. So there will only be 3 components: a backing strip, the riser, and then a belly. So we are not going to do a core lamination, a tapered core. This will be the first time I've tried that, so I think that a single glue line is going to help the efficiency of this particular bow, and I'm just interested in seeing where it takes us. Using a mold, the same mold that I used in the previous build, and I will put a card here on this guy or in the video so that you can go back and see how I created the mold. The length of the riser exceeds the distance between the nodes. These nodes are, I measured them, they're 14 inches apart. You cannot do a power lam long enough, and well, it'd have to be 18 inches, but that would interfere with the bending of your bow for sure. Now, I don't know, I mean, I guess experiment would tell you, but truthfully, to keep things as efficient as possible, you don't want that long of a power lam in your bow. So I use these pieces in my bamboo back and belly builds. Save the others for premium backing strips. All right, so here is the modified riser pattern that we're going to use right here. If you measure it up to the original pattern, goes just like that. So it takes these edges, these corners off, and you'll see that it sits a little bit, it's not quite as tall as the original one, but the bamboo is going to ride over the top of this, and so that will make up the space that was taken away right there. So we'll have the same thickness basically as what you're seeing right here. So I got a little more of like a teardrop kind of shape here, or I don't know how you would classify that necessarily, but a very smooth riser shape to it. Instead of needing to have one piece of bamboo come up and stop here and then a second piece, which would cause, you know, 4 pieces, this is going to allow me to do one singular belly piece that goes right over top here and just continues on across. So I can do it as one piece, similar to what I did with the last bamboo build with that hybrid recurve bow. All right, I've been grinding out my bamboo. This here is going to be my belly piece. And I've been putting a lot of effort into ensuring that I've got a good tiller on these things, because we're not doing a core lamination, which means I have nothing to ensure that I've got a good taper from the handle to the tip. relying 100% on how well we're able to taper these laminations. Now, this one's my belly, and so it's thicker than the backing strip. I don't know if you can see, but the backing is much thinner. Not much thinner, but it's thinner. The backing strip starts at like a 0.21 thickness, 0.22, almost a quarter of an inch, and then tapers out to like a 0.19, 0.17 out here at the tips, where the backing strip starts at a 0.18 or 0.17 in here and tapers out to its tips at like a 0.14 or 0.15. All right, so this kind of makes sense in terms of backing strip to belly. You want a little more resistance in that belly piece. Now, what's going to make this belly a little more resistant to the tension of this bamboo strip for the back is that we're going to temper it. All right, so tempering our backing strip like we have tempered all of our bamboo. I'll put a card right here to take you to a video on how to temper bamboo, or how I temper my bamboo. So we're only going to temper the glue line side of this piece, of the belly piece of bamboo, and then we'll glue it up. Now, in the process of tempering it, I think in the video that I tagged up here, I did not do much to temper the handle section. I'm going to actually heat treat this to the degree that I can bend it so that it actually fits to the rounded section of the grip. So I always struggle with getting over this hump and then through the fades. So I'm going to do some heat treating to get it at least bending over the bulb of the grip right here, which will force it to run into these fades. And just now when I dropped that thing, I busted the corner off of here. I don't like to nick those things off if I can help it. Anyway, done with the grinding these lambs out. Again, paid very close attention to the tiller on both of them. They both look the same as far as tiller is concerned. And going to prep these pieces now to glue together. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and temper and bend these things, and bend the belly at least into place, and then bring it back on board when we get ready to glue. All right, guys, hopefully you can see what I've got going on here. I have the mold set up. I have the riser in place here in the mold. I've got everything lined up with center lines, etc. And you can see that I have it bound down with rubber bands on either side, and this is going to be a difficult transition to make. Now, I did not temper this section of bamboo. It is unheat treated in any way, shape, or form, but what I am going to do is go ahead and apply some heat to it, just steady, slow heat, so that as things begin to get hot enough to bend this bamboo, the rubber bands will pull it down into place. So these are tight, and as the bamboo becomes pliable, it will pull it down. All right, about 15 or 20 minutes heating this section here right at the grip, and then going ahead and wrapping it from the center out. You can see that I've got this belly lamb contoured to the riser piece there. Now, obviously, when we take it out of the bindings, or out from under the rubber bands, it's going to return a little bit and not retain that entire bend, but it is going to make it easy enough to get it back on when we go to do the glue up. Now, this entire length of belly bamboo has been either tempered or heat treated. So we heat treated through the grip area, tempered the glue line side of the limbs, and have managed to dry it out. And so we got to go back and regrind this glue edge to make sure that we don't have any kind of convex surface to that glue line, all right, or to that gluing surface. So we're going to regrind that, and then we'll get on with the gluing process. Here is the glue up. I got some clamps positioned right there in the fade areas that I was a little worried about having any kind of gaps. I believe that the bindings took it down tight enough, but I'm not gonna have a replay of a bad glue job like I did with my last bow. So these are insurance policies right here. A little bit of trouble getting these tips all the way down on these ends, and ended up having to kind of improvise with some different clamping methods to get those tips to push all the way down against the form. I didn't seem to have that big of an issue with that when I was gluing up the previous bow. Something to think about here too is there are just 2 laminations to this particular glue up. So we're not going to get the benefit of, you know, a tri-lam that's going to keep its shape when it comes out of the mold. It's going to be interesting to see how much this bow gives back when it comes out. Right, so I'm going to lose some of that reflex and probably gain a little bit of deflex out of it. I'm not sure. Here is how much of that bend it gave back. So I knew with a single glue line some of this was going to happen, but it only happened out there in the limbs, and on its tips we're dealing with quite a bit of setback here. So there it is on its limb tips, and we probably got a good 2.5 to 3 inches of setback to get started on this guy. And I don't want to put too much pressure on it to get started, but it moves pretty reasonably easy. I suspect this bow is gonna probably be 40 pounds at full draw at best, and probably finish out somewhere more in the 30 to 35 pound range. Here we go, fresh out of the mold. Guys, when we reconvene next week, we'll get this thing shaped out and tillered out. This one's coming along rather quickly. Thanks for hanging in with me this week, and we will see how far we get with her next week.